Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
This is Bloomberg Businessweek with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
Hey, Carol, do you remember during the pandemic how much we cooked and baked? We were all stuck at home.
Drank wine.
Yeah, that's true. That's not in my what I wrote.
That's not you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's true.
Little improv here.
The grocery store shelves were bare. Yeast was pretty much impossible to come by.
Yeah.
Everyone was cooking at home.
People were selling flour in bags. Remember that? I did that. Bought that.
Were you selling it or buying it?
I was buying it.
All right. Well, it turns out that we pretty quickly went back to our old ways, cooking at home at the same levels as we were pre-pandemic. About 6.1 meals per week in 2022, 6.3 per week in North America. That's according to the most recent Gallup CookPad Global Survey, which was published last fall. It's not a lot of home-cooked meals, and maybe that's because people are so busy with work, kids, life. It's kind of just hard to find the time.
Yeah, I have to say we're on a mission at home to do home-cooked meals. And this is where our next guest comes in. He's got a new book out today. It's aimed at making cooking simpler for all of us. And we are delighted to have with us here in studio James Beard, award-winning author and chef Rocco DiSpirito. His new cookbook is Everyday Delicious, 30-minute-ish home-cooked meals made simple. Welcome. We're always looking to rush things. It's kind of crazy, but that's another discussion for another a period of time. How are you?
I'm great. I think it's a great discussion to start off with tonight. We don't need to rush cooking, but most people don't have a lot of time. And the reason I say 30 minutes-ish is because many recipes are 15 minutes and 20 minutes, and they're not all 30
Do
minutes.
people, for the most part, don't think that? Most
people believe that if they spend more than 30 minutes cooking, it's too much time. But I love cooking, so I spend the whole day cooking. I think people who live a life where cooking is embedded in their lifestyle don't count the minutes so much.
But my point is, you can cook a meal, a really great meal, in a short period of time. And I think the perception is, in order to, if you're going to make a meal, it's going to be hours of preparation.
You absolutely can cook an extraordinary meal in 10 to 12 minutes. I watched my grandmother and mother do it almost every day of our lives. The amount of time it takes for the pasta to cook on the package is all you need to make any dish. And I've got 10 new pastas in this book that I think are, OG, lovable, everyone's top 10 list.
Well, I want to go to the book and go to the beginning
Let's
of the book.
go to the book.
Carol and I
I'd like
were
to go to the
talking
book,
about
too.
this as we were preparing for this. This kind of hit for us pretty hard because you said you love cooking, but you write in the book something that kind of struck me. You said, cooking's been incredibly rewarding professionally, but behind the scenes, I almost never join the table to appreciate the meal myself. As my career progressed, the personal joy of home cooking and the significance it held became distant. The light that came from cooking for myself, family, and friends, a formative part of my childhood, had dimmed. It was almost like you're talking about falling out of love with cooking.
Or falling out of love with the ability to wrench myself away from my work and sit down at the table and, and join my family and friends for that wonderful moment where magic happens, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we all get caught up in our professional lives and living in New York and being obsessed with our careers, you know how it goes. And it took something like the pandemic to sort of stop me dead in my tracks and say, Rocco, go sit at that table, cook for your family. They love you. They want to hang with you. And you can make their lives better in this moment by cooking anything, basically. And that's kind of what the genesis of this book is, because this was supposed to be a keto book. This was supposed to be Keto Comfort 2.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then obviously that book came out in March 2020, and so things changed. And after 9 months of living at home and being at home 24/7 and cooking every day, I realized that that's really where it's at. And we need to talk about it and discuss it. So this is my first conventional cookbook. Even though I've written 15 books, nine have been health and wellness books.
Yeah.
And the others have all been from a professional point of view, which, as you know, is very different. Yeah.
Well, and talk about the conventional aspect of this, because it is, people are unfortunately, and maybe it's everywhere, but certainly in this area, between commutes and so on and so forth, we're pressed for time. And it's so easy to take the easy route, if you will, when it comes to meals. So tell us about how you thought about it and whittled it down.
I think the easy route has become more and more complicated, and I'm not so sure it's the best bet anymore. Ordering out, picking up takeout, it's very time consuming.
I'm tired of takeout in my house.
Aren't
and
we?
No, seriously, have just said stop. We rather would do a meal and have leftovers, and that's kind of our thinking.
Exactly. And, if you cook a few meals a week, you do get a lot of leftovers, and so you're really able to turn them into multiple meals. If you're a little bit you don't have to be a great chef to know how to do that. And I'm finding that the dilution of quality that's happening with all the apps and delivery services is just no longer a compelling story.
What do you mean by dilution of quality?
I think everything is becoming quite uniform, homogenized. All the food is starting to look and taste the same. They're coming out of the same ghost kitchens. It's
So
not.
you're ordering from a different, what looks like a different store on your app, and it could be coming from the same
So
place.
the idea of wonder, do you not think is like a good thing?
So my friends founded Wonder, and I think it's a great thing. They're actually trying to combat what I'm criticizing by working with about 10 of the greatest chefs in America who actually came up with those menus and supervised that. So they might be the exception to what I'm talking about. But when you're talking about basically 3 or 4 apps that monopolize delivery, everything sort of tends to become a little bit of a disappointing experience. Nothing like it is when you cook at home. I mean, all you have to do is drop a pound of pasta in a pot of boiling water, add butter and Parmigiano Reggiano, and you are really like in a 3-star Michelin environment all of a sudden.
Here's the problem.
That's all you have to do.
That's the only thing
totally
I can cook.
agree.
That's
But
the problem.
that's one of the greatest things to eat, so you're in great shape. It's like saying my only suit is a Gucci couture suit that they made for me.
Not so bad.
Yeah, exactly. Not so bad.
And
You can wear
pasta's-
that over and over, right?
Pasta's never so bad. We're going to come back with Rocco. We're talking
you.
about his new book, Everyday Delicious, 30-minute-ish home-cooked meals made simple, a cookbook. We're going to come back and continue in just a moment.
We're back with James Beard Award-winning author and chef Rocco DiSpirito. His new book, Cookbook, it's Everyday Delicious, 30-minute-ish home-cooked meals made simple. I got to tell you, we were I almost said scrolling. That's where my head is, right? We were
Someday the books will scroll.
flipping through the pages and just getting hungry looking at these. Not just over the last 10 minutes, but throughout the day today as we prepared for this interview. And I got to tell you, one of our producers, Elizabeth, she's like, there's no way you can do these in 30 minutes.
Where are you, Elizabeth?
Raise
She's
your hand.
raising
There
her
she
hand
is.
in the
There
back.
she
Come
is.
right
She's
here.
like, there's no way you can do this.
Should I perform a proof
These
of
are like-
concept right in front of you here now? Yeah.
So-
Which recipe can't we do in 30 minutes?
Okay, let's
There's
see.
a small section of Sunday holiday meals that maybe can't be done in 30
But
minutes.
even something like the
yeah.
first recipe in here, I think it had some seafood in it.
Okay.
Oh,
Happy to
the
recommend some
linguine
short
vongole.
Linguine vongole can't do it.
Yeah.
Of course you can do that.
How do you
in 30
do
minutes.
that?
Yeah, it's so easy. You cook pasta, you heat up a pan, you put the clams in a pan, you put some garlic in it, and you combine the two, and that's
That's it?
basically
All
it.
right.
You're being silly. You know it's
what
one
about-
of the
I don't know.
you know it's one of the
I've
fastest
actually
dishes in the world.
I've never cooked
Make-
clams, so
What's the prep time, though?
Cla-
You're
cla-
saying from beginning to end prep to putting it on the table.
Even if you used Instacart, you wouldn't need to spend 30 minutes. You could get everything delivered to your house within an hour, probably. Clams open in 45 seconds under heat, under pressure if it's a closed pan. These Italians are very crafty about their food. They're fast. It's delicious. So if you pick any Italian recipe other than ones that are braised dishes, it's going to cook
Okay,
very
this is what I
fast.
opened up to.
Yeah.
Deep fried lobster?
Yes.
That-
Isn't that a good idea?
It sounds
Come
like
on.
a great
It's
idea
a
if you
great
work
idea.
in a professional kitchen,
Well,
or if
okay,
you're at a
okay,
restaurant.
all right. Well, you don't
I've
have
never
to
done
do that
lobster.
first.
I've never. So how do you? So how do you? Deep
So you
fry
boil
lobster
you
under
boil
30
lobster
minutes?
very quickly, 6 to 8 minutes, just
Okay.
enough to get it basically cooked. Then you dredge it and deep fry it in the shell. Leave it in the shell. You don't
Okay.
deshell, and that's how it's a simple preparation. And you just crack the shell open, and again, that's basically like a down home New England dish if there is such a
And
thing.
it's essentially two
Yeah.
pans, right? You're boiling and then you're
Yeah.
frying it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How did you figure out kind of what you wanted to have in this book?
Oh, so I took what I thought were everyone's top 10 dishes by asking some people online. I used, social media quite a bit to develop this book and other books, and it's always been very helpful and very, the return on investment in social is still amazing. So fans gave me many, many ideas, and then I went through some of my past cookbooks for dishes that I did in healthy versions and turned them back into their unhealthy versions, because for many, many years, for about I got to be 15 years, I've been writing health and wellness books, and so I've always picked the America's favorite dishes and made them under 300 calories and carb corrected, calorie corrected. So I did some of that, I Googled most popular dishes many times in different cuisines and different ethnicities, and so pad thai is a big one, for example, and that's in the book.
Did you make one and be like, it's like 33 minutes? Okay, still like I gotta do something different.
30-ish minutes. Yeah,
30-ish
All right,
mostly
all right.
leans
So-
to under 30
33.
minutes.
So we can go up to 39. Like, did you like 41?
Let me
Like,
just explain that you can spend an hour and a half ordering takeout. So if you're my 30-minute promise ends up being
point.
33 minutes,
That is
and
true.
you spent a tenth of the money, and you have 100 times better results. Isn't that a great bet?
Here's my problem.
You can spend 90 minutes just debating what takeout to order.
Why are you
like
looking
you
at
know
me?
my home.
Because that's exactly what happens in my
That's
home.
your life.
Here's the problem that I face is planning, because you need the ingredients on hand.
Yeah.
And that's something that my family certainly struggles with. What's the right way to plan out a week of cooking?
So first way to tackle that problem is to have a great pantry. And in the book, I do have basically a chapter devoted to pantry. Most of what's in that pantry are condiments. Condiments make a big difference. Having sambal olek, which is essentially ground, chilies and garlic, are going to make a big difference in any dish you add it to. Having the right mayo, like Kewpie, is going to make a big difference. Having oyster sauce, fish sauce, those kinds of things. And they don't go bad, so planning for that is super easy. You're mostly referring to perishables, right?
Yeah.
When you have perishables. So you can lean into the freezer more than you'd expect me to say as a pro chef, because even most of us are like, oh, fresh everything. So you can have, frozen seafood, frozen scallops, shrimp, clams hanging out in the freezer. You can have frozen chicken, frozen steak, frozen pork hanging out in the freezer, and those make quick work of any prep issues that you have. And then, of course, at some point there will be some planning involved. But I'm going to, I wish someone would partner with me to create this experiment. I guarantee you that if you studied 50 couples in New York City and compared eating out every day to cooking in at home, it's either it's a wash or less time. Yeah. And certainly a savings of money and
it's also
mental pressure.
And I'm
much
say
healthier.
healthier and
Not
much
to mention
healthier.
all the benefits, because as fast as it's become, it's not so fast. Again, you need 30 minutes just to debate with your partner what you're going to order, right? And that's real. Like, we're laughing, but that's a real issue.
What do you love about the food industry right now?
What I love about it?
Yeah.
Well,
restaurant industry.
Well, we're still doing, I think magical work, which is figuring out how to make people happy in a very complicated world, in a very complicated, competitive world. I think most restaurants still do a pretty good job of the wish fulfillment that they set out to. We produce great food, relatively short amount of time. We hand it to you, and you get to eat it right away. That's a cool magic trick, I think. So we're still doing that, and I'm happy about that. And of course, New York City is one of the most forward-thinking, magical cities there is when it comes to anything. And of course, that's true for food. So very happy about that. I'm also happy that people have figured out that the industry needs to be a lot more fair than it used to be. So things have become much more fair to more people. People are getting opportunities that were overlooked before.
You're doing diversity and access and that kind of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. That has changed the industry across the board for the better, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
What's your favorite meal?
My favorite meal? It's linguine vongole. It's basically the first three dishes in the book: linguine vongole, or spaghetti pomodoro, or OG carbonara. Think about carbonara.
Love carbonara.
Takes less time than it takes to cook the pasta to prepare the sauce. You
we make
crack
it
4
at
eggs.
home a lot.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. You crack 4 eggs. You grate pecorino, or you buy it grated, and you find a bowl, and that's it.
It's
and it's
so
one of the
good.
greatest dishes ever invented.
What don't you eat?
Very few things. Very few things. Very few odd esoteric things. Like cod milt would be an example.
But pretty much everything is
Pretty
good.
much everything. Yeah.
Love it.
You had to think. You had to think.
It's kind of where I am.
Good luck with it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah,
This
it's been
was
a great launch day so far, and thank you to the fans who've gone out.
Did we hear you were number one on the...
I didn't say that. I'm not allowed to say anything.
Is it
like
trending?
That. Yeah.
Is it trend top 20, top 10?
There's real-time charts. These things are giving us a lot of good info as we
This
speak.
funny thing, data. Rocco, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
you both. Thank
Rocco DiSpirito, he is chef, of course, and author, written many books. His latest, Everyday Delicious, 30-minute-ish. Try that again. 30-minute-ish home-cooked meals made simple. A cookbook. This is Bloomberg.